Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Springfield Township Board. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Springfield Township Board of Trustees meeting. It is August 13th, 2024 at approximately 5:30 p.m. Could we have a motion to appoint Kathleen Kennedy as Clerk Pro Tem?
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay. Kathleen, you're it. Okay. Could we please have the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Burning,
Present.
Ms. Braun,
Present.
Mr. Harnala,
Present.
all trustees are present, and Mr. Burning is excused.
Next, would everyone please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing on our agenda this evening is approval of minutes from our regular session on July 9th, 2024, and our regular work session on July 23rd, 2024. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning? Do I call roll? No.
Aye.
Or just a,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
She's new to this job.
I'm already falling down here on the job. It'll only get better,
Okay.
I promise.
next, we will move over to departmental action. Well, excuse me, we have a fiscal officer's financial report. Kathleen, do you have that, or should we?
Yep, I'm happy to give the fiscal officer's report. For the month ending July 31st, 2024, the township's expenditures were $2,256,789.95, and receipts were $900,060. Maybe I don't have this. $964,588.32. The ending cash balance of $25,192,975.58 includes obligations to expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. I request a motion to approve receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue, and reports for the period ending July 31st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Harnala?
Aye.
Motion carries. And just so everyone is aware, financial reports are available for viewing at the administration office weekdays during regular business hours and online 24/7.
Thank you, Ms. Kennedy. Okay, moving on to departmental action discussion items. Mr. Gilbert, do we have a report?
We do. Thank you, Mr. Harnala. The first action item I have is a liquor permit hearing request for 6244 Daly Road, and I'm not sure, Rick, is that just a transfer?
Yes, an owner transfer.
Okay, an owner transfer, and we don't have any objections? With no objections, then I would ask for a motion to send the requisite paperwork to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control.
Do we have the motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Harnala?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is, every year we have an SRO agreement with the Finneytown Local School District. I think it's just getting to us late this year. Is that the case? I'm not sure why I'm doing it now.
Yeah, it's just a little bit late this year. The SRO that was officially assigned there has been out on injury leave, so we have a substitute SRO that's taken place, and we finally worked that out with the school. So
Perfect. All right. So with that, then I would ask for a motion to authorize the administrator to execute that agreement with Finneytown.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Go ahead.
And just for anybody who doesn't know what SRO, it's School Resource Officer.
Yeah, I apologize.
That's what we're talking about.
I'm used to using acronyms too often, so I do apologize for that.
Sometimes I don't even understand them.
There's a lot of alphabet soup that happens.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is, as the board is aware, we have and have had for the past 20 years, an aggregation program here in Springfield Township where we go out and select alternative energy suppliers, both natural gas and electric, for our residents as an opt-out program to provide them with an alternative to Duke as the energy supplier. And most often, it just provides residents with a fixed cost option or a more secure and less volatile pricing structure. And I'm happy to report that we've had a successful program up till now, and then we just went out to bid with our consultants, Energy Alliances, and have selected AEP Energy as our natural gas supplier. And that rate is 0.5894 per CCF, which is a 30% decrease than where we're at today. And then additionally, it is less than Duke's current rate and less than Duke's proposed rate over the winter as well. So I'm happy to report that hopefully our residents will see a decrease in their natural gas bill throughout the winter because of this new contract, which is a one-year agreement with AEP. So with that, unless there's any questions, I would ask the board to ratify my ability to execute an agreement with AEP Energy as our natural gas energy supplier.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And that will run through October of 25. That rate will be 0.5894 through October of 25, which again is a 30% decrease in even where we're at today.
30% decrease.
Yeah, the market has softened a little bit. If you remember the last 2 years, the natural gas rates, as you know, as a commodity, it's been a pretty difficult market and
Right.
very volatile. And I'm pleased that we're able to lock in this rate for residents for a year.
And I think one thing that's worth mentioning is that in the past, if the market conditions were such that when our contract came up, as you know, what we've had, that we won't just renew another one, but we'll wait and listen to the consultants and try and, you know, time it as best we can to get better prices for all our residential households and other customers that are part of the aggregation program. And over the years, we've saved millions of dollars for the citizens of the township with this program, and that's why we continue it.
Yeah, and in some cases, we work with our consultant and we look at the market and we determine whether we should lock in a rate for a year. We've done it for 2 years if we've found that the rate is advantageous to do so. But given where we're at right now in the market, we feel like locking in for a year and see what happens is probably better than locking in a price for 2 years. So.
Right, just so everyone's aware, we did let it go to Duke for a little while there because we didn't want to sign up for a year at some of the rates that were higher, whereas Duke could be a month-to-month type situation until the rates came down, and then we signed up once the rates came down again. I think we were on Duke for about 4 or 5 months till the rates came down. So, you know,
Yeah.
we're very cognizant of what's going on in the market before we sign up for any kind of addition.
Yeah, we essentially suspended the program because we didn't think we could beat Duke's rates and we didn't want to lock residents into a rate that wasn't competitive, so.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. So,
Thank you, Chris.
did we already have that motion?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Next, under discussion items, first I just wanted to make, obviously the board is aware, but the public aware too, that Finneytown Local School District is having a groundbreaking ceremony on August 30th at 5:30 p.m. Is that correct, Ms. Kennedy? I see you're shaking your head in acknowledgement. So if you're interested, I know that the public, I think, is invited to that groundbreaking ceremony again this August 30th at 5:30 p.m.
At the football stadium.
At the football stadium. That is the groundbreaking for their new secondary campus that they're planning on building, so. Next, under discussion items, as the board discussed at our previous, actually several previous public meetings, the necessity to explore a fire levy. As the board is aware, and just to make the public aware, the last increase in that we had in revenue for the fire department was back in November of 20. We typically try and make levies last 5 years, and this one, by the time it would go into effect, would be essentially a 5-year since the last increase. And typically, and I'm proud to say this, typically we stretch those levies longer than 5 years. In some cases, we've stretched it almost 10. The issue we're having in the climate we're in now with levy-driven departments like police and fire is the expense of personnel being competitive in the market to retain and attract both firefighters and paramedics, as well as police officers. But this particular levy is purely for the fire department. The costs have went up much more than in years previous. And then more importantly, in this particular situation, we're having very extensive capital needs for the fire department in terms of apparatus or equipment, fire trucks, squads. What we're seeing is that when this department was formed back 25, 26 years ago, we inherited pieces of equipment from the two private fire companies that operated in the township, which was Burlington and Northern Hills. We inherited a few of their fire trucks, their apparatus, a rescue truck and different things. Those trucks now are well in excess of 30 years old, some cases almost 40 years old. And it's not a matter of we don't want to repair them to keep them operating. One, they're antiquated. And two, you can't even find parts to fix these things anymore. So for us to continue to provide service to the community and having that insurance policy, which is the fire department, you never want to have it, but you're glad it's there in case you do need it. We need to make sure that we bring in equipment that allows our folks to do the job that they were hired to do. And as a result, we have some pretty extensive capital needs. So when we're looking at the current situation and revenue for the fire department will be out of operating revenue to meet the demands, the operational demands in year 26. So for us, we need to infuse some additional revenue in that department now to purchase these apparatus and this equipment to get us to that point. Because if we ordered a fire truck today, we wouldn't see it for almost 3 years. That's how long it's taking to get equipment. It's taking, 2 years to get a squad right now?
Yeah,
And
18.
I remember when we did the last levy renewal, squads were around $250,000 to buy a new ambulance, $250,000. Now they're $350,000. Just to put the cot in the back is $40,000 just for the cot, the stretcher. So it is a very expensive department or service to provide, I guess is a better way to put it. And the fact that we're able to stretch this levy to what we expected, 5 years, I think is a testament to both Randy and Rick's ability and operating that department to get us to where we are today. So that's a long way of saying that the board has determined to place a levy on the ballot this November at $3.5 mil levy. And with the understanding that the current $1 mil levy that expires in 27 we would not seek to renew that. So the net effect will be a net additional of 2.5 mils, even though there's a 3.5 mil levy on the ballot, if that makes any sense. We will let the one drop off, and it'll be a net effect of 2.5 mils, even though the actual levy that's on the ballot is 3.5 mils. That will generate enough operating revenue for the fire department to last beyond 2032. So a good ways out. That's our projections now. So we're hoping to get at least 7, 8, maybe even 10 years out of this levy. We need it today, as I said, this year to order that equipment to get that in place so that we continue to provide this current level of service. This is just to maintain the current level of service, not necessarily to add additional people, but to maintain the level of personnel we have, as well as to bring in some new equipment to allow them to do the job that they're hired to do. So the cost is, it's $123 per $100,000 evaluation. But like I said, in 27, $35 per 100,000 will be dropped off. So it'll be a net effect of roughly $95, $96 per 100,000 is what it will cost for this particular levy once the 1 mil drops off in 27. So I know that can be somewhat convoluted and confusing, but I think the board, looking at the projections and felt that it was prudent to let the public decide what level of service do you want from your fire and EMS department. And, we'll let the voters decide. And if they decide to keep it, then obviously they'll decide to vote yes. If they decide no and they want to have us continue to try and operate with our current crew and have to cut service, then that's what we'll look to do. But we're going to let the residents decide what level of service they want.
And that's the way township government's designed. We can propose a levy as the Board of Trustees. We can't pass one. That falls on the voters.
Right.
And so it'll be up to the public to decide if that's what they want or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing important to mention is that we can't commingle funds. So if you vote for a fire levy, that money can only be spent on fire and medic uses. For the same reason, we can't take money currently now that's for a police levy that's going to the police department. We can't take any of that money and use for the fire department. So it's what we refer to as a la carte government. You get to decide what level of service you want for particular services. And that's how levy-driven departments operate. So.
And I think the final thing is, we always call it the fire department. It should almost be the paramedic department.
Really?
The vast amount of our runs are paramedic runs. That is Rick, what would you say?
Yeah, it's probably 90% of what we do. And, like Chris said before, the insurance policy of having that equipment and having that personnel here is, you hope you don't need it, but you got to have it.
Chief Miller, can you tell me what is our sort of average run volume for EMS right now?
We make roughly 7,000 runs a year, so I would say probably 85 to 90% of those are all EMS related.
Yeah.
Yeah, we roughly make, I think this past month there was 436 EMS runs in a month. So it's a lot.
We run 4 squads 24/7, 365 days a year. And they get wore out pretty quick. And I think we're replacing them, every 4 years now? 3 or 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. And believe me, if you're riding in an old ambulance to the hospital, you'll feel it. So.
Is that for the entire township that you're talking those numbers?
Yes. Yep. So 15,000 households and 37,000 people.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Okay.
Next is discussion item back in November when issue 2 was passed at the state level regarding the legalization of recreational marijuana sales and allowing dispensaries. The board took action to prohibit those and place a moratorium on those uses in Springfield Township. I think to try and get a better understanding of what the landscape was going to look like in terms of what the rules were going to be and the policies were going to be put in place by the state. Those have sort of been shaken out somewhat, and I think the board is at this point looking at, the will of the voters. The township passed issue 2 by almost an average of 70%. And I think they issue passed in every precinct in Springfield Township but one. And even that one is very close. So I think the board at this point is looking, if I'm not wrong, you're looking at determining whether or not to lift that moratorium and allow a possible dispensary in the township in an effort not to sort of usurp the will of the voters.
No, absolutely, Chris. When we passed the moratorium, we did that because the legislation was in the state, it was in a state of flux. We didn't know what the final law was going to come out of the legislature at the time. And it was there was the concept that we were going to have this. The legislature has now passed a bill. We have it there. We think we know what it's going to be. With the legislature, you never know for sure. The old saying, our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are all in jeopardy when they're in session. But depending upon the way it looks now, I think it makes sense that we can go ahead and lift the moratorium, and in a measured way and in a thoughtful way. If we get anyone that wants to bring a dispensary to the township, then we can work with them. There's zoning, there's there's quite a few regulations. There can only be one. I think they have to be more than a mile apart. They can't be near schools, churches. There's all, kinds of zoning regulations, but I think it probably makes sense, given the fact the way the township voted for it, that we should lift that moratorium.
You can also limit the number of them too, if you want.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, we met with state legislators from both parties before we put in the moratorium, and they basically told us that they had no idea what was going to come of the bill. In other words, we asked specific questions about, well, what about this? They were like, we don't know what's going to happen. So our concern at the time was, the state legislature who passed it, it was on the ballot, it got passed, and they didn't know what was going on. So our concern was, it could be the Wild West out there, whatever. We're not going to allow that in Springfield Township. Let's put in a moratorium, wait and see what shakes out, how it all comes together. And that's the reason we put it in to begin with. So now that we've got a little bit more direction from the legislator on what's going to happen, we're more comfortable. And like Chris said, over 2/3 of their township voted for it. So it's certainly something they want, and we're not against it. We just didn't want to let anybody open one wherever they wanted. So that's we were waiting for the facts before we moved forward, and now we're ready, I believe.
Sarah, I don't know if,
Well, I wasn't here.
no, but I mean in terms of lifting it. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know.
no, I'm all for that. Yeah, when the 2/3 of the township voted for, I'm all for it, absolutely.
Obviously, I don't have an action item tonight, but it was just, I wanted to make sure that the board was able to have that discussion and give us direction as to where to go. So it sounds like you want myself and Ms. Abrams, our legal counsel, to start working out what that would look like in terms of a regulation and a policy to allow them if we were to lift the moratorium. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Next, I just have the personal update, and if I could borrow I'll find it.
Mr. Gilbert, do you want to talk about the DORA?
Dora.
That was it?
Yeah.
Good for it.
Well, if, Ms. Kennedy, if you could go ahead and
Could I
explain
talk
the
about
DORA.
the
Yes,
DORA?
well,
Okay, thanks so
for
much.
that.
Just to remind the board, at the last work session, we discussed establishing a DORA, which is a designated outdoor refreshment area in the township, our first one.
There you go.
The Ohio Revised Code outlines all of the processes and the requirements to establishing a DORA in a legislative area. The first step is that the fiscal officer submits a application to the Board of Trustees for their review, and in your packets this evening, you can see that full application. And for anybody who's interested, the application is also available at the front desk here at the administration building, or if you'd like me to send you a copy, just reach out to me. I'm happy to send you an email with a copy of the application. DORAs are a little funny. There's not like an actual application to be completed by the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. You're really just assembling some information that they would like to review, basically giving an exception to liquor laws, allowing people to carry, a designated cup within a designated boundary area during designated time. So it is pretty specific. The proposed boundaries of the DORA in the township are really pretty limited. They're just the High Grain Brewing property and our administrative campus here. The hope is that by establishing the DORA, we can create some more public events that collaborate between the two businesses, events that are going to be open to the public, where people may want to go to the brewery for a beer and then come over to the administrative campus for something like a car show or Oktoberfest or a concert, things like that. So the intention is really just to create more opportunities for public events and collaboration between the township and the brewery. So they can be revised if we need to make changes in the future, or if there are other businesses that we want to include. But I just wanted to draw your attention to the completed application in your board packet. The fiscal officer submitted that to the Board of Trustees officially on August 2nd. The Ohio Revised Code requires that we publish a notice in the Cincinnati Enquirer twice, once a week for 2 weeks. So That ad ran last week on the 7th, and it'll run on the 14th. And then I'll work with Ms. Abrams to prepare a resolution for the board's consideration at our meeting on September 10th to establish that DORA. And then we'll work on all the fun things like getting the cups and who will distribute the cups and all that good stuff. But again, I just wanted to bring your attention to that completed application. Any questions about that, Dora?
I think so.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Looking at the personnel update, for the month of July, we had the resignation of Braden Well as a part-time EMT firefighter, and the resignation of Grayson Hilton as a part-time EMT firefighter. And then we did have the termination of Andrew Stein as a part-time EMT firefighter. In the police department, we had the new hire of Joshua Clift as a police officer, as well as Lucas Ratliff as a police officer. And in the public works department, we had the ending of 2 seasonal labor positions, Hunter Goldick and Gage Starrett. Did I say that correctly? And they have went back to school or back to school. So their summer has ended with us. And that concludes the personnel update for the month of July. With that, I'll turn it over to Kim for community events and programs.
Thank you. Our next event is actually a township-wide event, not just with First Connect. And Stephanie Hummer has just gotten new playground equipment, and so we're creating a playground play day for that with a grand opening on September the 10th at 10 a.m. And then we'll have different activities for kids and family until noon that day. And the only other event that I'd like to announce is just that we've got a current call artists right now for our local art show, which is in November. So we are just looking for those entry applications, and they can be submitted to the First Connect website.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it.
Kim, is that, I'm so sorry, September 7th, Saturday for that?
Saturday.
Okay,
Yes, September 7th.
just wanted to make sure if people were putting it on their calendars.
Perfect. With that, unless there are any questions or comments, that concludes my report.
Okay. All right, with that then, we're going to move on to the resolutions this evening. The first resolution we have is Resolution Number 74, 2024, authorizing the private sale of unneeded and unfit for use property in the police department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honorlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 75, 2024, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the police department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honorlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next, we have Resolution Number 76, 2024, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing the statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honorlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And finally, we have Resolution Number 77, 2024. This is a resolution establishing assessment for abatement of nuisance and certifying the same to the Hamilton County Auditor. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
Mr. Burning?
Aye.
Ms. Braun?
Aye.
Mr. Honorlaw?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
You know, and one thing I would say, looking at this list of properties where we're declaring nuisances, there's not a huge amount, but there's a fair amount that you can see are LLCs, probably some sort of rental property. And I know that has been a problem throughout the state. I know I'm on the Hamilton County Land Bank. We're trying, Senator Blessing has been looking at ways to try to address that. You know, there's constitutional issues, of course, but we're finding some of these communities that get so many of those, And if the landlords are not keeping, the tenants aren't keeping the property up, the landlords aren't, it can really be bad for neighborhoods. Where I know at the Land Bank and the Port Authority, they're looking to try and see if there's any way to fix some of this legislatively. It is an issue that, can be bad in certain parts of the county and really certain parts of the state. So there is some work being done on that. With that, do we have any old business before the board this evening?
I do not.
I do not.
I do not. Do we have any new business?
I do not.
I do not.
The one piece of new business I would like to, new or old, is we were just recently in Winston-Salem for our police department for reaccreditation. This is the 9th time that the police department has been internationally recognized as an excellent department. And Chief, if I can turn it over to you, can you kind of explain the CALIA accreditation, is kind of the gold standard for...
Yeah, we've been doing it for a lot of years, and it's something that we're really proud of. For me to take the credit for all of it, I'll ask the Chief of Police, Chris Niehaus, to kind of comment on it, but we've been doing it for a lot of years. It holds us to the best practices of our policies and our procedures that we do day in and day out, and it holds us accountable to make sure that, over that 4-year period, we're reviewing to make sure that we're practicing what our policies say every day. So I'd like Chris to kind of step up, and we congratulate Chris for the hard work that they did, and Lieutenant Matt Wilcher is the accreditation manager over the last 4 years on that process. So, Chief?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the recognition from the board this evening. So, for the board and for the community, CALIA stands for the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. Really what it is a credentialing body for law enforcement that really states exactly what Director Bly said, that our law enforcement agency, Springfield Township, submits to the best practices and the best policies recognized not just nationally but internationally. Through that process, our agency is reviewed every year over the course of a 4-year cycle. At the end of that 4-year cycle, in that 4th year, we have an outside assessor that comes in to review our agency over a 3-day period. And they look at policies, they look at our practices, they tour our facilities, they talk to our elected officials, they talk to the community, they talk to other law enforcement agencies in the region to really just look in the vet, are we doing what we say that we do? And I will say this year that our assessor came from a North Carolina Police Department. Our assessment report at the end of this 4-year cycle really shined a bright light on our organization and the hard work that the men and women in our organization do every single day. There was quotations in this final report that came out at our review that there were practices and policies that our agency has implemented that really should be used as a model nationwide for law enforcement agencies. So we are extremely proud of that. We've been accredited since March of 1999, and it's something that the agency works hard at every single day just to demonstrate to our community that our police department does everything that we can do to stay within best practices. So thank you.
Chief, what is the percentage of police departments in the country that are actually accredited?
Yeah, about 35% of all the law enforcement agencies in the country. So a very small percentage.
So a third
Yes.
of the departments in the country are accredited, and we're one of them.
Yes.
Chief, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
all your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? With that then, we'll move to citizens' participation. If there's anyone here that would like to address the board, please, I would ask that, yes ma'am, please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Presley. I am the Senior Branch Manager of the North Central Branch Library, and our address is 11109 Hamilton Avenue. Took me a while to remember it. First off, I would like to thank Kim from Arts Connect in inviting us to the Back to School Bash. It was a lot of fun. We got to meet many of our community members and hand out lots of free books and lots of library swag like bags, chip bag clips, water bottles, and everyone just lit up when they found out that they didn't have to pay a dime for the materials that they were receiving. So thank you for providing us with that opportunity. From our account, we were able to interact with 131 friends of all ages. So that was a really exciting opportunity for us. So I'm just really grateful that you invited us. Thank you so much. The second thing that I'd like to chat about is in September, we have some new events coming to the North Central Branch Library. So the first one is a library play date. That is Wednesday, September 4th, 10:30 to 11:15. This is geared towards ages 1 through 5, where they can come and kind of grow those social, emotional skills that you need to learn and have when you enter into kindergarten. So that's the intent. It is a nice way for parents to grow their community and connect at the library, so we welcome everyone. The second new program that we're having is called Duct Tape Art Series that we are having. So it is the one that we're doing on Tuesday, September 10th. It's from 6 to 7:30. It's a fun way to make a self-portrait without the mess of the paint because you're using duct tape. So very fun, out of the box, and we're very grateful that Kara, she actually graduated with an arts degree from UC. She was promoted to a full-timer at the Forest Park branch, but she's going to come back and teach the class for us. So we're excited for the community to meet her and grow some new skills. The last one that we're having that's new is our early literacy learning stations. Again, this is geared towards our younger crowd, so ages 3 through 5. They'll have some educational learning stations as well as some play, because you learn through play. And again, it's another way for families to grow their community, meet other families, and just, grow that support that not many people have. So I'm glad that the library can be kind of like a beacon for the community as a community hub. And a service that I want to remind everyone that we're providing is the gun lock service. You can come into our locations and get a free gun lock, which is a very, very important initiative that, to me, that we're doing because we experienced one of our youth who frequented our branches losing their life to gun violence, unintentional, but we just want to make sure that we get these gun locks in the hands of families to provide a safety net around them and their young ones. The last thing that I have is the Forest Park branch. We are getting so close to the branch opening. The trustees will definitely receive a email invitation, but if you are interested in from the community, feel free to reach out to the Forest Park branch and they can give you some details because it's not quite yet announced to the public. So I would say by the end of summer is when it'll be released to the public. But if you have any questions about the renovations or anything that may be happening with that location, you can definitely call the Forest Park branch. That was my time, and I thank you so much for allowing me to present. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Yes, sir.
Yeah, my name is Greg Beasley, and I'm recently new to the township. And I had
Sorry, could you repeat your name again? I apologize.
Greg Beasley.
Greg Beasley?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm currently over in Skyline Acres, and I moved in probably about 2 or 3 months ago. And as I noticed throughout the community, I noticed that we don't have a lot of street lights that are over there. I noticed there are a lot of youth that were running in and out of there, and I had my vehicle not vandalized, but ransacked, let me say it like that. And as I spoke with other older people in the community, they're starting to notice that too. And as it stands right now, if you turn off of Compton onto Zodiac, there's not a light there. It's only 2 lights in that particular area. And I think it would help the community with the youth to kind of offset some of that. I don't know from the chief's perspective, does he have a lot of runs that go over there? But I've noticed that, you just got a lot of kids running around. And I think we would be served, pretty good if we had some lights out there. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, Greg, thanks for coming. What we'll do is we'll get with our chief, as well as our Public Works Director, Scott, sitting next to Director Bly, and we have an internal process where they'll go out and look to see what areas are most in need of lighting, and then we will contact Duke Energy to put that light out there. And typically what we look for is there electric close by, is there a pole close by we can place a light on, and what's the best, most strategic location to put those lights. So we'll start that process, and hopefully we'll get back with you and let you know what our results are.
I appreciate that.
Hey,
Thanks
no
a
worries.
lot.
Yeah,
Thanks for your
You
time. Yes, sir.
You could, when the meeting's over, give us your phone number.
Yeah.
and that, so
Okay, sounds
Because
good.
we want to keep you up to date on what we're doing.
Right.
Beautiful. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, okay, we have it. Yeah, okay, Greg, she's got your phone
You
number.
got your number.
Yeah. Okay,
Carrie.
there you go. Okay. There we go.
How'd that happen? Was that like a magic trick or something?
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board this evening? I think it appears there, yes, ma'am. Yeah, okay, here we go.
You drew the short straw?
I always seem to draw the short straw. Anyway, my name's Felicia Thompson, and I live at 7161 Winton Road. And I wrote down my thoughts because I don't want to be rambling up here. I can ramble. Yeah, I'm getting to that age where it doesn't all kind of click, so I'm just going to read you guys off what I wrote. First of all, I'd like to thank each of the Springfield Township trustees for allowing community residents the opportunity to speak with the board regarding community concerns. As I've stated, my name is Felicia Thompson, and my family has resided in the same house in Finneytown for the last 28 years. My husband and I have always been active members of the Finneytown community, looking for ways to give back and make positive contributions. Some of these examples include our family being profiled in 2009 by the Cincinnati Enquirer for leading efforts to change the school district's grading scale policy from a 7-point grading scale to the current 10-point system, allowing our Finneytown students the chance to be more competitive with college scholarship opportunities in terms of the grades they earned. Here's a copy of us being in the paper. Okay, my husband, James, he was supposed to be here. He ducked out on me. Our coach, as he's affectionately known throughout the community, was a head coach for the Finneytown Youth Baseball for 5 years. He was also the director and head coach of the Finneytown Youth Football League for 6 years and an FAA board member. He was a Finneytown middle school coach for 2 years, with him coaching his 8th grade young men to an undefeated football season in 2008. I personally was profiled as a Finneytown resident and the hometown hero by the Cincinnati Enquirer in 2008. So you see, we have always been vested in the Finneytown community and continue to be dedicated to the safety and well-being of this community and its residents. Which brings me to my current concerns within the community, because we have no plans to move elsewhere. We're here to stay. Over the last year, I feel like I've been beating a dead horse, or beating this drum over and over. We voiced concerns with the board over the speeding cars along the Winton Road corridor, specifically along our section of Winton Road, south of Whitaker Elementary. We've asked for installation of additional stoplights, speed humps, police surveillance, anything to deter folks from speeding through our residential neighborhood. Trustee Braun, she even stopped by my house during her election campaign and told me that she watched videos where I was addressing concerns about the speeding. It was through that conversation that my husband and I decided to vote for Trustee Braun, because it appeared she was concerned with our concerns. And I didn't feel at the time that the board nor Trustee Dukes was listening to what we had to say. The township is vastly aware of the hazardous nature of this section of Winton Road because every year, prior to the Greek Festival, signs are put up right at my driveway. Police are everywhere. You guys know that area of Winton is heavily trafficked and speeding occurs. That's why you go through those efforts to make sure that those people going to the Greek Festival are safe. Why can't those same efforts be put into place during the rest of the year? Something needs to be done. I live in the curve. I can't see around that curve. Those cars, motorcycles, everything, they use that corridor, they use Winton Road as an alternate to the highway, as an alternate to Springfield Pike. The speeding is ridiculous. We need some stoplights. We need something. Speed humps. You guys don't want to put the speed humps in. We need stoplights somewhere along there.
I'll let you finish, then I'll address it.
Yeah.
Okay, we need stoplights to stop that. Once they get going, I mean, they're going. You know, we need stoplights somewhere. Winsway, Bellamy, even closer, I can't remember the name of the street that crosses. My husband and I walk there up and down. You probably have seen us walk, and we walk 3-4 times a week up and down Winton Road.
But I usually see you up here by UDF.
Yes, yeah, we walk up to the Y, if I can make it. But anyway, we walk this, I mean, this is our home. This is our community. We love it here. We don't want to see it. You know, we want it to be safe. And, you know, with the water nursery just being opened, is there any plans to have it close at dark? Bob and Gail live right next there. The traffic that comes after dark, 10 o'clock at night, people going in and out of that roadway, making all kinds of noise. It's surrounded by houses, you guys. And that place needs to be closed after dark. Nothing good happens after dark. And we know that. You know, nothing good happens after dark. So is any consideration being given to closing that park after dark? Maybe a stoplight needs to even be there. You know what I'm saying? Something needs to be done along Winton Road. And I think my last point was at the last school board meeting that I went to. One of the school board members were talking about the demolition that's occurring at Whitaker. They made mention that it would possibly be sold after demolition to a developer. It's my understanding that is it the case, they're still putting townhouses over there? Or is it
Still what?
potentially,
What did you say?
are they still putting townhouses where Whitaker currently stands, where it's going to be demolished? Or is it going to be sold to a developer?
I'm letting you finish, and I'm going to address all your points.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm pretty.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay. I don't know if the board wants me to address some of these. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I guess first, regarding the stoplight and the speed hump sort of scenario on Winton Road, I think it's important to note Winton Road is a county road. We as Springfield Township, this board has zero control or jurisdiction over Winton Road. They cannot determine unilaterally to put a stop sign there or speed bumps. I can tell you in my conversations with the Hamilton County engineer, who is in charge of Winton Road, is not interested in speed bumps on any of his county roads, nor is he interested in putting in any stoplights where the traffic doesn't warrant it. And when I mean traffic, when you put a stoplight up, that has to meet what they call state warrants, meaning, and it has a bad connotation. It doesn't mean warrant in the typical sense of the word. I'm looking at my chief now. It means that, is there enough traffic coming off the side streets to stop the volume of traffic on Winton Road? He's going to say Bellamy, Winsray, absolutely not. I can tell you right now, it won't meet warrants. We couldn't get a stoplight here to come out of our drive on the Winton Road. It didn't meet the criteria for a stoplight here. So that doesn't mean that I don't think speeding is a problem. I just had this conversation with our staff, last week?
Yeah.
Regarding that very area you're talking about. We just had this conversation. The problem with Winton Road is we don't control it. So the only thing we can do is add patrols and put up maybe additional signage, that you see going down the hill towards Spring Grove that says, too fast, slow down. Now, after time, people will start to ignore those like they do the speed limit signs too. Why you see so much traffic there during the Greek Fest is because they pay for off-duty details to be there. Those officers that are there are not on patrol, normal patrol for the township. They are there on their off time, being paid by the Greek church to be there to run traffic control. They are not, we don't just send, the township isn't sending people there for the Greek Fest. They are asking our police officers that are off duty to come there and do that. All that's to say that I agree with you. That is a bad area for speeding. We obviously have between 6 and 7 officers on patrol at any one point in time in an area of 17 square miles and 37,000 people and 15,000 households. So can we sit down there and run radar all the time? It's just not possible. So what are other things we can do? We're exploring some additional signage, some flashing things. The county will let us, at the township's cost and our maintenance, put additional signage in the right-of-way. They're not going to put up a stoplight, and they're not going to let us put up speed bumps on Winton Road. Mainly because the speed limit on Winton Road is 35. They're not going to reduce it to 25.
They won't change.
So you can't put an impediment in the road that prevents someone from going the posted speed limit. So if I were to put a speed bump, let's say they pretended and they let us put one there, that speed bump would have to let you go 35 miles an hour over it. I've never been over a speed hump that allows you to go 35 miles an hour over it. They're not going to reduce the speed limit. So if someone hit that going 35 and they damaged themselves, their car, or they had an accident, we would be liable because we put in an impediment in the road that prevented them from going the posted legal speed limit. So for a lot of those very bureaucratic legal reasons, mind you, that's why that probably won't happen. But what we are going to do is look at ways to increase patrol down there for speed, radar and different things, and then additionally some additional signage. Because I agree with you, that's one of the worst stretches of Winton Road for speeding, in addition to up by the park going down toward Green Hills. That's another very, very quick spot where people speed. So.
And that's what I don't understand. Okay, what's the difference between Winton Road and Green Hills? Everybody know that's a speed trap.
Here's why. Because Green Hills is less than 1 square mile. Their police officer is doing nothing else but sitting there running radar. That's the only officer they even have on duty, is that one person running radar. What else are they doing? Probably nothing. I'm not demeaning them, it's just the truth.
No, I get what you're saying.
And then why it's a difference is in terms of they control what happens on county and townships. We're concerned, I feel like I'm giving a social studies lesson.
No.
But townships are what's referred to as unincorporated areas of the county.
I understand that.
So an unincorporated area of the county engineer, the county is responsible for major arterials. Winton Road, Daly Road, North Bend Road, Hamilton Avenue is actually a state route, Compton, Springdale, all those are county roads. In a city, an incorporated area, a village, whether it be Wyoming, Forest Park, Green Hills, Mount Healthy, North College Hill, those same streets then turn into the maintenance responsibility of the city. So it goes from being county controlled to city controlled. So the odd part is you have Winton Road that goes from city controlled Forest Park, village controlled Green Hills, county controlled through the township, back to city controlled when you get into the city of Cincinnati. Super confusing. I understand that. So what I would say in a township, if the street, with very few exceptions, if the street has any lane markings on it, like yellow hash lines in the middle, in the township, that's not a township maintained street. That's probably county or state. Our streets that we maintain, which is about 400 of them in Springfield Township, don't have those center lines on them because that's a good way to tell. It's not absolute, but it's probably 99% true. So that's that issue. We can continue to explore speeding down there, but that's some of the things. So I acknowledge it. We're aware. We're working on some things, but understand the impediments we have in order to address it. As far as the park, Board of Nature Preserve and people going back, this is the first I've heard of people driving back there on that drive that we installed, that temporary drive, after hours. This is the first I've heard of it. So we will make sure, no one has told us.
Okay.
So
That's the first I've heard.
yeah, no one has told us. We just put that in a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised we didn't have that issue previous.
No, because it wasn't paved, It was more.
Looked more
walkable.
grass and it didn't look as.
Yeah,
yeah,
it didn't,
yeah.
it wasn't easily accessible.
Yeah, so to answer your question, we can absolutely now try and close that at night. We can put up, there's already some things there that we can run a wire across it. We will have maybe we'll work with our police on patrol, at a certain time at night to go over and close that. Obviously, we have the gate at the other end. You can't actually get into the preserve per se, but you can drive back that drive. And if that's an issue, then we can definitely do something about that. That's easy.
Right.
The
Are they
last,
hanging out back in the border at night? Well, when that happens, you need to call the police department, and they'll send somebody over there and
Yeah.
get them out of there.
yeah, for sure.
And people feel bad about calling the police.
They do.
You need to call the police, or otherwise, if they don't know about it, they're not gonna do anything.
We're happy to give you the non-emergency number. Just call that if you don't feel like calling 911.
Yeah, and have them run over there, they'll chase them out of there, and after they get chased out a few times.
All of our parks close at dark.
Okay, okay.
So-
Yeah, that's what we were asking about the other day. I was asking them, I says, can't they close them at dark,
Have any signs that say that it closes at dark?
I don't know if we do there or not.
No, not there, not there. They
Well,
are.
we
I
can
mean, I
easily
go
put
over there
that-
almost every day and walk my dog.
And if you can get in at Winton Road, you can also just park and walk in.
Yes, you
Yeah, you
can.
can.
Even if
Yeah.
it's closed.
Right, and if
Yeah,
they're back
yeah.
there doing something, call the
Yeah.
police, and we'll have
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
run over and run them out of there.
Okay.
Yep.
Another question, last question. The DORA thing that you guys are starting, what are the implications like with public intoxication?
Nothing really. I mean, that's only really, the door we created
Mm-hmm.
is only allowing people to walk from the brewery, which is right there, to our property, across our property behind the shopping center.
Mm-hmm.
That's the door. So it's just allowing, if we have a public event here, it just allows them to maybe walk from the brewery to the event and maybe back. That's
And
it.
go get something to eat if they want, and then come back.
But what
whatever
about
they-
getting drunk, and walking drunk? You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
But they could do that on our property now at an event if we're serving alcohol or in their parking lot.
Because we
Yeah.
serve beer at our events,
Okay.
if they're
Yeah.
adult events.
Okay, okay.
I thought you were going to ask if you could get a beer over there and bring it to our meeting.
Serve beer at your meetings.
If you do, bring more than one.
Yeah.
Lastly, your question regarding Whitaker in the development.
Yeah,
Yes, the plan that I know that I've talked to you about is obviously is your neighbors. That's still the plan.
okay.
And we actually have been invited by the school board staff, myself and Assistant Administrator Kathleen Kennedy, to an executive session of the school board later this month to finalize details of that, or I suppose that's what it is. But they have what we have worked on with the developer, what I have shared with you all, and the ball's sort of now in their court, whether or not they want us to move forward with that.
Okay. I guess I don't want to feel like I'm badgering you guys, but
You're not.
our neighborhood, over the last 28 years, it's not necessarily changed for the better. You know what I'm saying? There's been some people that have moved in and out that I wish weren't my neighbors. I'll just say it like that. And we aren't going anywhere. I mean, we're here to stay. We raised our kids here in Finneytown.
Here's what I would ask.
We appreciate that.
Your particular neighbors may not have changed for the better, but I would argue in the 20 years I've been here, Finneytown in particular has changed for the better.
Not the school systems.
I
They're
don't
failing.
control- We don't control
I
that.
understand.
But I'm
Just
saying,
that's a part of Finneytown.
if you look at the Winton Road corridor 20 years ago, and you
Yeah.
look at it now,
Yeah, it's pretty. It's very pretty.
completely different.
Yeah, it is. I can't deny that, but Finneytown as a community has
Yeah,
not
I-
necessarily changed for the better.
But Whitaker site itself, yes, we as a township, not this board, but what we brought to the school district and what we've worked on with the developer is a 60-unit townhome development, 12 different buildings, 5 units per building, average starting price somewhere high 300s, low 400,000.
Okay, all right. Thank you guys.
Owner
for your time.
occupied.
Private.
Which is much better than where they started.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Those are going to be rentals.
Yeah,
But don't feel like coming here and talking to us that you're badgering us or bothering us. That's what we're here for. And like your concerns about Whitaker, it's the first, or not Whitaker, Border. That's the first any of us have heard that there are people going back there. We didn't know that. But the township's a big place, you look at a map, and so we need people to let us know. That's, so many times, we can't
And
be
you're welcome to
everywhere.
come, they've come to many, many meetings, and they don't always
They're
speak.
shy.
Well, you're welcome to come back anytime, because you just informed us, all of us, of something we didn't know. So
Yeah.
if you see something,
Okay.
feel free to come up here and talk to us about it. We're friendly people.
It's like the speed, people come in my front yard, coming around that corner, a fire plug was just knocked off a week ago, It's just crazy.
Well, I hope the explanation I gave kind of
It
sheds
does,
some
makes
light on
sense,
it.
But we need to figure out,
No, I agree with you, but my point is, I think some of
Yeah.
the things that you thought we just weren't doing because we didn't want to,
yeah. So there's speed humps down at the bottom of Winton, Cincinnati. Whatever, okay.
Believe me, I hate sounding like a bureaucrat.
No,
But we're handcuffed a lot of times.
I just,
Unfortunately, speeding is a problem,
everywhere.
not just there.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
sometimes I'll be going 5 miles over the speed limit, and somebody will go by me like I'm standing still, and I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
where are they going in such a
Right.
hurry?
But when you're trying to get in and out of your driveway, you know what I mean? People blowing at you because you're trying to slow down to turn into your it just doesn't put you in a really good
understand.
place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Felicia.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Seeing that there is none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, so moved.
Seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye. The meeting's adjourned.
Thank you all for coming.